Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me again this morning on Next on the Tee. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and today I have the honor and the privilege of having PGA Tour legend Bobby Nichols joining me. Mr. Nichols won 15 times on the PGA and Champions Tour, including the 1964 PGA Championship at Columbus Country Club. He's going to join us in just a few minutes, but before we get started, we want to kick off the show by saluting the brave men and women serving in our military and everyone listening in on the Armed Forces Sports Radio Network. We thank you for your daily sacrifice and all you do to keep the rest of us safe. We also want to thank those of you who serve or have served in every branch of the military and public service. We truly appreciate what you do to preserve our freedoms and our liberty. It's through your strength and efforts that our way of life is even possible. Our sincere thanks as well to Stephen Lee, Dennis Farrell, and all the folks at Armed Forces Sports Radio. It's an honor for us to be a part of your network. You can find our show by going to armedforcesportsradionetwork.org, and also be sure to give those guys a follow on Twitter. You can find them at the AFRN for the Armed Forces Radio Network. I also want to mention our good friends Mike Novaks, Ben Kerr, Mark Medeski, and the rest of the great staff over at lastwordonsports.com. Check them out online and on Twitter. Their site's fantastic, folks. Contains great content across every sport. Their staff of writers is outstanding. You're going to love going to their site every day for your sports news. If you haven't been there yet, check it out and then bookmark it. lastwordonsports.com. We also want to welcome our new listeners on iHeartRadio. We're excited to be on iHeartRadio now. Thank you, folks, for taking us in and letting us be a part of what you've got going on. We're excited to be there. You can find us by going to iHeartRadio.com and searching for Next on the Tee. And you can also find this show on radio sites across the Internet. You can find us on TuneIn, Spreaker, Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher, and Player.fm as well. So if someone's dragging you to the mall or to the grocery store, or you're just tired of the same old that you hear on your commutes every day, take us with you. You can give us, a listen. We'll give you something fun to focus on for a little while you're out there. Enjoy your ride a little bit better. Maybe not, be discouraged as much walking around the mall or going around the grocery store. Let us entertain you for a little bit. We're glad that you'll listen to us, and we hope you'll make us a part of your every Saturday morning. We're here 9 a.m. every Saturday morning. All right, now joining me on the Kyvan Foods guest line is Bobby Nichols. Let me give you some details about Mr. Nichols' background. He's from Louisville, Kentucky. Played his college golf at Texas A&M, where he won the Southwest Conference Individual Championship in 1952, was a Southwest Conference medalist in 1956, and team co-captain in 58. Joined the PGA Tour in 1960. He won 12 times on the regular tour, including the 1964 PGA Championship. He won 3 more times on the Champions Tour and was recently honored as a hometown hero by his hometown city of Louisville during the PGA Tour week a couple weeks back. I am both honored and privileged to have him with me next on the tee this morning. Mr. Nichols, thank you for joining me.
Glad to be here.
So, Mr. Nichols, before we get into, your wonderful playing career, as a Texas Aggie, you have to be excited about how they kicked off the college football season the other night, dominating South Carolina 52-28. Kevin Sumlin certainly has that program going in the right direction.
He really does. It's amazing how good an offensive coach he's become, or I shouldn't say become, he always was like that. And to do what he did with South Carolina in the Columbia, that first time they've lost in 18 games was quite a feat, and proud of them. And they got a lot of uncertainties, but evidently they're coming together and they're going to be a force.
Yeah, they certainly are. Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm interested to see. I think everyone thought that in the post Johnny Manziel era, maybe there'd be a drop off, and according to what we saw the other night, there's no drop off coming.
No, they got a lot of talent, and it showed last night. I think their depth is getting a lot better, and that pays off in the SEC. Obviously, you got to have that, and so everything's looking up. But hopefully, everybody stays healthy and continue to do well.
Yeah, no doubt that's the key. All right, so let's talk about, your wonderful career. I read you started playing golf at age 13, but actually started caddying at age 9. How'd you get started caddying?
Well, actually, I had to find a way to make $1 or $2, and that's about what it happened. That's why I started caddying. We'd make about $1, $1.25 a day, which was wonderful. Back then, at least they gave us some kind of a job, and being around it, caddying, one thing led to another. I started playing, but I think a lot of guys in my era started the same way, caddying, and picked up the game in that way.
You actually caddied for another prominent Louisvillian and Baseball Hall of Famer, Pee Wee Reese, right?
I sure did. He used to caddied at the club that he was a member at in Louisville, Kentucky, and when he came home on the off season, he'd always played. Pee Wee was a very good player. He was one handicap, and he could play to it too. He was just a natural athlete, and it was really, really special to be able to caddy for him.
Did you ever have any, thoughts of, hey, maybe teeing it up on the tour for a little bit?
Oh, Pee Wee, I don't think he could have done any better than what he did in baseball. He was, I think he picked the right sport. Golf was kind of an all-season diversion for him, but he was very good, like I say, athletic, so he was very good at almost anything he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. I also read you had another early brush with greatness because you were good friends with Paul Hornung. Double dated with him, in fact, right?
Well, yeah. We did it on a couple occasions back in our high school days. And I think when we was growing up, we always wanted to be like him and be like Paul Hornung, but not too many people were. He was kind of a special athlete. I don't think a lot of people know, but Paul was a very good basketball player, too, in high school. There again, he was just a natural athlete, could do most anything, and that he took up to try. So now he's played a lot of golf and enjoyed it, and something that he didn't get a chance to do too much in high school. But I say he's playing a lot of golf now and having fun. You won the Kentucky State Championship as a senior in high school, which means you started playing golf at 13, and within 4 or 5 years, you're already the best player in the state. That's, you want to talk about someone who's got amazing natural talent. That's fantastic. I always say to folks, golf is a sport that takes 10 years just to get bad at. But you, all of a sudden, you're state champion 4 or 5 years. How'd you do it? Well, back in our days, we never had a swing coach. We never had very much of a tutoring.
Right.
But we picked it up just by watching other players and good players play, and that's about the way you kind of improved your game. Since
3 times a charm, you had a third brush with greatness with Coach Bear Bryant. Talk about how you met him and how your relationship with him developed, because he was the one that helped get you to Texas A&M, right?
Yeah, I owe Coach Bryant a great deal. And I'm not by myself, but he's done this for a lot of his players and stuff through the years. But he gave me a scholarship to Texas A&M in '54, and really he, after I had my accident, he could have thrown me on the bus rather and forgotten. But he gave me a golf scholarship. Actually, he was the athletic director and football coach when he went to Texas A&M. So he had the whole sports program, and so he gave me a golf scholarship, but it was a football scholarship because golf in those days did not have a full ride. On sports, they had a full ride for football and basketball. So by giving me a football scholarship, I had a free ride to Texas A&M.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? To your point, it was a football scholarship, and you came around once in a while to practice, right, to check out what was going on. But it was a football scholarship that got you there to be able to play golf, which is I guess unusual and fantastic that he was willing to do that for you.
I know it. It was a special type of situation, and he did it for me, and I can't say enough about him. And through the years, when I first went to Texas A&M, he called me in his office and he said, "Now, anytime you have some free time," he said, "I want you to come out and say howdy to the boys and just hang out with them and that sort of thing." I said, "Yes, sir." So I did that, and then after we got out of college, or after I got out of college in '58, he went to Alabama, and we know what the history that he had in Alabama. Winning 6 national championships, and he was about 3 or 4 runner-ups. And it was amazing, the years. Anyways, he he took up golf in 1960 when he left Texas A&M and went to Alabama, and he started playing the game and really, really liked the game. And everybody, of course, wanted him to play in either fundraisers or charity events that went on throughout the years. And so he tried to oblige as much as possible. And I must have played at least 12 or 15 different charity events with him at different locations and different tournaments and stuff. And it was really, I got to know him on a personal basis, and what a gentleman he was to me and to Nancy, my wife, and the whole family, everybody. And throughout his years at Alabama, he had a connection with a company called Ziegler Packing Company, and every Christmas he would send me a dozen steaks, fillets, a dozen New York steaks, and some more other stuff. And it was just something he sent out of, I don't know, just out of kindness, you might say. And then another wonderful thing he did for me back in the 69 and 70, he came to the Masters, and I was playing. My birthday's April the 14th, so my birthday usually fell in the Masters time. And he had a big, huge cake out in front of the Masters where the victories are. If you've been to Augusta, you know what I'm talking about. It was anyway. I had a big long table there, and he'd say, "Happy birthday, Bobby." And then pros would come along, players would come along, have a piece of cake and so forth. But that's just another way of his kindness to me, and all I can say is wow.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Good for you, Mr. Nichols. Finish your thought, please.
No, I'm finished pretty much. I just things like that. It was just really special, Coach Brown. Of course, like I say, he had a lot. He did a lot of stuff for a lot of players, especially ones that played for him, and he knew. And he was just that kind of a man. He just he gave back to his players. He appreciated what they did for him and so forth. I remember when he went to Junction in '54, and he had all the players, and he came back with only 29 out of 98 that stayed and played for him. Junction boys. They gave him a ring after, I don't know after what year it was, maybe sometime in the late 60s. And they gave him a ring, and he wore that ring even when he was playing golf. He never took that ring off, I don't think. He always wore it even when he was swinging a golf club and stuff. And, of course, being having national championships, that ring was the one he always wore. Or at least whenever I saw him, he had it on. And But and of course, he got rings for every time he won a national championship and stuff like that. But it was a special thing for him, and a special feeling that he had for those players back in 1955.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah, he was. When I think the Junction boys all admired him. You might say it was a love-hate relationship, but they loved him after. And so they got through going through all the trials and tribulations, the good times and the bad times.
Right. 1952, you win the Southwest Conference Championship. Was that a moment in your life when you looked at it and said, you know what, I could probably make a go of being a professional golfer and be successful at it if I wanted?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm sure it had some thoughts in my mind. You never know exactly. There have been so many good players that have tried the game and didn't succeed, I might say. But there have been other players you think didn't have much of a chance, and all of a sudden they succeeded. So golf draws a very fine line from being a normal player and being a superstar, I should say, or a super player on the tour. Right. So it's a lot that has to do with dedication and mental preparation. And it was a situation where I was fortunate enough, because when I went to work in Midland Country Club out in West Texas, I got to play with Mr. Hogan in Fort Worth, Texas, because the pro that I worked for in Midland, Texas, was on the staff of the Hogan staff, and so we went to Fort Worth a few times to play with Mr. Hogan. That was a highlight of my career at that time, and so it helped me a great deal just to have that knowledge of watching him play and thinking, well, maybe I could do a little bit of what he's done. So I wanted to give it a try.
And I want to talk in a minute about your experiences with Mr. Hogan, because I read some interesting things. I want to get to that in just a minute. But you sort of burst onto the tour in '60. You had 2 top 10s, 8 top 25s, and 28 starts. And you were a powerful golfer for the time. I read a comparison that said that you were John Daly-like long back in 1960. Talk about, your swing and being able to overpower some courses.
Well, in those days, I helped hit the ball a little further maybe than normal, but again, you had to keep it in the fairway, and I probably wasn't the most accurate driver, but I think by hitting it a little longer than normal, that it helped me a great deal. So a lot of players could hit it a long ways and stuff, but there was only a few players that really could keep it in the fairway, and I think one of the best drivers that we had back there, it's obvious, is Jack Nicklaus, who was the premier player, and
right.
So we had, like I said, a lot of good long hitters. Not a lot, but a few. But today it's pretty common. Players are all extremely long. It's just amazing.
You got your first 2 wins on tour in '62 at the St. Petersburg Open, and then later at the Houston Classic. And I'm guessing, for a guy who went to Texas A&M, the Houston Classic must have been like winning a home game. Was the crowd going crazy for you?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate because A&M is full of, Texas is full of Aggies, obviously, but especially around Houston area, and I had won a couple times there, 62 and 65. But I remember, first of all, in 1960, when I won my first tournament, I played the final round with Doc Kerry Middlecoff. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't remember Doc Middlecoff, but Doc was one of the best players in that era that there was. He won 40 events, and this was a tremendous player, a couple of U.S. Opens and the Masters. He was really helpful to me through the years we played together, and along with Tommy Bold, I can name, and Mr. Hogan, I played quite a few practice rounds with, and we were lucky in our era. We got to play with the best players in those days, like Byron Nelson and Jimmy the Bear. We could go on forever. Every good player that we played with back in there, we got a chance to play with. So that was really, really a special time.
Yeah, I read that you when you won the St. Petersburg Open, you were playing with Kerry Middlecoff, and you credited him with helping you out a great deal. You mentioned it a second ago. What role did he play for you, and what were the things that he did and gave to you that helped you with your game?
Well, every time we played a practice round together, and especially at the Masters, he always let me play a practice rounds with him, and he would tell me where to hit the shot or try to hit the ball and play this side and that side. And a couple of things I'll never forget, like number 12 at the Amen corner is the par 3, and there's a trap right in the middle of the green, in front of the green, rather. And he said, you see that trap? He said, you hit every time, no matter if the pin is extreme right or extreme left or in the back, you fire it right over that bunker. And all the years I played the Masters from 61 till about 78, I played about 18 or 19 straight, and I never put it in the water. There, I always put it out over that sand trap and got it either on the green or over the green, but never made worse than 4, and made a lot of 2s and a lot of 3s. But that hole has been disastrous for quite a few players through the years, and it's awful tempting to try to fire it in there on the right side or left side, but the water comes into big time in play, and you got to hit a absolute carry perfect to be able to negotiate that. So putting it right over top of the middle of that bunker was really a big plus education.
You got your 4th and 5th wins in '64, including a wire-to-wire win at the '64 PGA Championship at Columbus Country Club in Columbus, Ohio, so Jack's backyard. What was it like trying to win a home game for Jack, and not only beating Jack, the other guy that finished tied for second with him was Arnie at the height of his popularity? Talk about bringing that championship home.
Yeah, that was a special week, and I got to play with Mr. Hogan there in the final round, and that was a tremendous plus. And then later on that same year, the World Open was held in Oakland Hills there in Birmingham, Michigan, and one night I was playing with Mr. Hogan. that tournament. And so there are two tournaments that I won. Both times I played with Mr. Hogan, which was special. And it was when we checked out of the hotel the next day, the Radisson Hotel there in Birmingham. I saw him, and I stood back when he was at checkout counter. After that, he turned around and he looked at me and he said, "You ought to pay me to play with you." And I said, "Well, there's a guy, the best player in the world at the time, or certainly one of the best." Saying that to me, it was quite an honor. So
I read that your response back to that was, "I don't know what it would cost me, but I'd sure try."
Right. He was awful special to me also. Whenever he'd show up at a golf tournament, which wasn't very many after the '64, but in a few tournaments, he'd look at me, and I'd always try to get in his way. I knew where he was coming to the golf course and so forth, whatever, and I'd try to walk in his way. He'd look at me and say, "Go get your partner," and we'd play. And that's basically how I got to play with him a lot of practice rounds and stuff.
That's great. You mentioned earlier all the great players that you had an opportunity to play with, and I think I and most people, when they look back at the era of golf that you played in, we call it the golden era. So some of the other players that don't get as much recognition but were great players, in their own way, are guys like Gabe Brewer, Billy Casper, Tommy Bolt. Talk about how great those players were, and maybe the four of you not getting as much recognition for being great players as you probably earned.
Yeah, I think that happens. Well, you brought up the perfect person in Billy Casper, who won 53 events, that's amazing right there in itself. And he and Gene Lindler, and you could go on Don January, and Tommy Bolt, and guys that you talk about, you could just the guys you could just name of 15 or 20 or even more.
Right.
That really never got, I'd say, the limelight. It wasn't available in those days until TV came along in about 62 or 3. And by then, a lot of guys were on the downhill of their career, but they were still very well respected in players in our days. And plus, what I enjoyed most of all was not only being around them and having fun with them and telling jokes and this and that, is they would try to help you. It was you can ask them any questions you wanted, and they would try their best to help you out and or try to answer or do anything they could to help you. It wasn't. We all were competing against each other, but at the same time, we enjoyed. We try to help each other, which I think is a special back in those days. And but of course, today you got your own personal coaches and things, and so you don't really have that sort of thing too much. I'm sure the guys today do the same thing pretty much. So, you like we say, we talked about so many great players that you had the opportunity to play with. I'm curious, and you say you played so many practice rounds with Mr. Hogan, but when you look at getting the pairings at the tournaments, and as you guys traveled around together, because again, this is a bygone era, right? These guys today have their own jets and they fly here, there, but a lot of you guys traveled together and played lots of rounds together. Who were some of the guys when you saw the pairing shoots come out saying, you know what, this is going to be a fun round of golf. I really like playing with him. Well, we never did really I never had any confrontation with any of the players. I got along with mostly all of them, I got along with all of them and that sort of thing. And maybe occasionally you feel like you could play a little better with that individual or that, but no one in particular that I feel like that I was glad. But I was trying to make the best out of every pairing I had, and it worked out well. We never had any really serious problems. Sometimes maybe you might feel a little more comfortable. I know when I was playing with Mr. Hogan in the final rounds of the tournaments that he was a person that would put you at ease. He was, and the crowds itself were very respectful and followed along and applauded his every swing and so forth. But they didn't. It wasn't any hollering and yelling and that sort of thing. It was really a controlled, respectful crowd, and that helped a lot in a lot of ways. So.
When you won the PGA in '64, you won $18,000. Rory McIlroy, for his win a couple of weeks ago, won $1.8 million. Can you believe how much the purses have grown in the last 50 years?
Well, a funny thing is you should bring that up. I told Roy after he won the PGA at 1.8 million. I said, Roy, you and I got something in common in our prize money when we won the PGA. I said, my numbers are the same as yours. It's just I don't have as many zeros. I said, I won $18,000 and he won $1.8 million. So yeah, that's what is that, 100 times more, something like that.
Right.
So it was pretty special. He laughed like that. It was kind of funny that shit happened. But
you played.
With all the tournaments back in those days, it's just tremendous how it's grown.
Yeah, so I gotta, I think you're early on. You finished 9th on the money list, and you're I think your first season out, and you won $34,000. When you look back at that $34,000, did you feel like you were rich back in the day with $34,000?
Yeah, to a certain extent, I felt like I was successful and I could live on it, and but I wasn't about to retire on it.
Right.
It was, I luckily. When I won tournaments, I won the World Open in '64 was the first $200,000 tournament, and then the first $300,000 was in '70, and that was the Dow Jones tournament. And I got a story to tell you about the Dow Jones in 1970.
Yeah.
After I won that, I got a letter from Bobby Jones, and I opened it up, and I didn't realize he had sent me a clipping. It was from the Charlotte Observer. And it said at the byline, it says, had a picture of me winning the tournament, and then on the bottom it said, Bobby Jones wins Dow Jones. And so he sent me that clipping in the paper, and I looked at it, and I was surprised to see that, and he said, also sent me a little note. He said, Dear Bobby, congratulations on your win. Sorry for the misidentification, but you have the check. Congratulations and continued success. Bobby Jones, he signed it. That was 1970.
That's fantastic. You got that framed in the office somewhere in the den?
Oh yeah. I got a couple of telegrams from Mr. Hogan. We won. First when I won the PGA in '64, Lou Strong was president of the PGA, and he asked me the next year. He said, Bobby, he said, we want to have a dinner, bring back all the past champions. Would you be the MC for the tournament? And I said, well, I'd love to, yeah. He said, well, we're going to have it at Laurel Valley, outside of the 65 PGA, and would you be the MC? So all the past champions, or most all of them, Gene Saracen, Paul Runyon, we went back to Claude Chandler Harper, and the guys, and Vinny Shoot, guys that won in the 30s, they were all there. It was really amazing, the turnout. Byron Nelson, Sam Snead. Mr. Hogan was the only person that wasn't there, and I could understand why. A lot of people don't realize that when after he got hurt in that accident, it took him forever. He had to wear braces on both of his legs, and it took him a good hour and a half just to be able to prepare himself to be able to play and stuff. And so it was really a burden, and he couldn't stand too long a period of time. He could walk, but the standing was not a thing he wanted to do much of. So he sent me a telegram apologizing for not being there for the dinner, and that was really special. I have that, plus, like I say, the letters and things I got from him, and also that one from Bobby Jones. That was really special.
Wow,
and,
that's great stuff.
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate. A lot of good things happened through golf and through life and things, and still having to meet those people. I want to say one other thing about Jack and Arnold when we played there in the '64. I remember Jack played with him, and we were standing there talking or something, and he overheard him say, the crowds at the '64 PGA in Columbus was so big, and it was one of the reasons not only for Jack and Arnold, but Mr. Hogan was there, and he was on the twilight of his career. The crowds were enormous, and he said, I saw this And I said, this town needs another tournament, and that's why he had the idea of building memorial tournament. I mean, the golf course there. And so that's how he got the idea of building. And it was
Muirfield.
Muirfield. I couldn't think of Muirfield. I don't know why, but kept saying Memorial Tournament. It wasn't Memorial. I knew it was Muirfield. Anyways, that's how he came around to build the thought of building Muirfield.
Interesting. So let's talk a little Ryder Cup. You played in the Ryder Cup in '67. And, once upon a time, the Ryder Cup was sort of billed theoretically as an exhibition, which, certainly not, it's no exhibition now. I'm curious, was the rivalry and pressure to win the Ryder Cup as intense when you played as it appears to be now?
Well, I don't think it had the world. It was good, very good. In fact, it was quite an honor. And we had all the preliminary functions and everything and to make it a kind of a special event. And respectful to play for your country, but the media today, like it is, they've kind of make it like it's a battle. Well, it is a battle in a friendly way, and it probably gets more publicity, obviously, because of the national players from all over the world now. We had players from all over the world, but not as many different countries as they do now, and. But there again, Mr. Hogan was our captain. That was really another special feat. And we had a unique situation back then. We could play the regular size ball, or they could play the small ball, which people nowadays they hadn't heard of that. But back then, you could play the small ball, which they played in Europe. And we had an opportunity to have that option, but we all played the small ball because Mr. Hogan said, "Well." And somebody asked him, well, which ball should we use, Mr. Hogan? He said, well, you can't hit that little ball out in the fairway. So we all kind of laughed. Well, maybe you can't, but we can. So, but that was another fun honor to have him as captain. And we won by the largest margin ever. Still a record by the margin that we won by, but we had a tremendous Ryder Cup. Every Ryder Cup has tremendous team, so it was special.
Well, you and Johnny Potts were paired together, and you guys won all of your matches together. Plus, you earned 1.5 points yourself in the singles matches. So, for a rookie, Ryder Cup experience, you had a heck of a time.
Yeah, we did. We were fortunate. We won all matches, and it was just fun. And of course, Johnny Potts was a tremendous player and partner, so it made it even that much more fun and enjoyment.
You played, fast forward a bit, but you played on the senior tour, now the Champions Tour, starting back in '86, tour established in '80, so it was still relatively in its infancy. What did it mean to you and the guys from your era to sort of have a second life on tour?
Well, it was a pleasant surprise. Obviously, we all kind of didn't have anything much to do. Then that senior tour come along in '86, and it was really something special for us all. It was really a pleasant surprise because no one even had any idea something like this would happen for the 50 and over group. And but it came along, and it started out in actually '78 with the two tournaments, and it went to about 4 or 6 tournaments in 1980, and it just kept growing. But the guys that really got it off the ground was when it showed on TV. NBC picked up the TV when they had Tommy Boat and Art Wall playing. I think it was Julius Boris and Roberto Davidson. And they showed it on TV, and people saw that players 50 and over, they could still play pretty well. And so that kind of got it off the ground, and then, like I said, it just kept getting bigger and bigger each and every year. And, of course, now it's really gotten big, which is it's like a mulligan, I guess you could say, for the 50 and 50-year-olds. And there's some players there playing now are playing better now than they ever did.
Right.
And that's a plus. And so it's a plus all the way around. It keep you active after 50 over, and actually I made more money on the senior tour than I made on the regular tour.
Right.
In those few times, and but it was really a special time. It kept you out there with guys that you kind of grew up with, and you met a lot of new people and a lot of people that you played with or knew, and you just kept meeting more and more friends and making friends and friendships and things. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, was the senior tour more fun than playing on the regular tour, or was the competition and the pressure to win just as much because you're playing against the same guys you had been playing against your whole career? So you still want to be.
I think the pressure is always there, but you want to win. You're playing against guys that you try to beat all through your career. And another plus, when you was on the senior tour, you could kind of plan your schedule because there was no cut. So you were going to play on the weekends, and therefore you could kind of schedule or make your schedule a lot easier, and it made it a lot more relaxing for you and so forth. So it was a lot more, the atmosphere was much more relaxing and so forth. But yet it was very competitive because I don't think you ever lose that competitive spirit once you've done it for so many years. It kind of stick with you, and it did for the senior tour, very much so.
In '89, you won the Southwestern Bell Classic. So was that win just as satisfying as any other tournament win, probably outside of the PGA Championship for you?
Well, it was exciting and fun to win. I mean, it's always nice to win, no matter when or how, whatever. Right. But it was fun. It was not a whole lot of money, but it was just nice to win. Of course, like I say, the money was very minimal back then, but it got better as the years went on, and of course now the senior tour has really gotten full blown pretty much, and it's pretty attractive for even the players today, which they're have made a lot more money than we did back in those days, but it's still attractive to those guys.
You were recently recognized, like I said in the intro, as a hometown hero earlier this month in Louisville during PGA Championship week, it being right there at Valhalla. What was it like when you heard, someone contacted you to say, Mr. Nichols, we're going to recognize you as a hometown hero during this week? That had to be a special moment for you.
Well, I actually didn't know too much about the posters that they were putting up, murals they were putting up at different buildings in town. I had heard that this was happening, but I didn't realize what magnitude it was or how popular it was until they contacted me, and then, of course, I got more and more involved and saw what was going on, and it was really, I said, wow, that's pretty special to even be considered for something like that. And so one thing led to another. We talked and this and that, and they did everything. All I did was show up and a couple speeches, that sort of thing. But it was quite an honor. And the guys, the people that we were with were, it's an honor just to be with them in that same category. And now they can see my mug every time they pass down Waterson Expressway. That's where it's just off of there in Louisville, Kentucky. So when I passed down there, I looked up and I said, "Wow, I know that guy." But it's been quite a nice thing. I'm very happy for it. I really, I don't know what else to say. It's an honor, and it'll always be there, and hopefully, but. It was special, no doubt. Before
we let you go, Mr. Nichols, I wanted to give you an opportunity as well to talk about, the foundation that you have set up, Fiddlesticks. Can you tell our listeners about that and how they can check it out online and get more information and get involved?
Yeah, we started this charity event. The Fiddlesticks Country Club members started and asked me if I would like to be involved? And I said, yes, sure. And that started in 2003, and we started out kind of slow like any charity event does and so forth. And after 11 years, we raised $6.5 million just from the Fiddlesticks members and all who were involved. And it all goes to abused and neglected kids here in Southwest Florida. And we have nobody on the payroll, and everything that we earn, or rather everything we given to us, and so forth, goes right directly to their organizations. Abuse and counseling, and then we also have the Blessings in the Backpack, where we give kids food over the weekends when they're not going to school, and it's been really a blessing. We also got Justin Rose and Jason Duffner on the regular tour. They're involved with the Blessings in the Backpack, and but it's really been really a special sort of thing, and just to have the feeling and honor to be able to help kids and hopefully make a better life for them who have been abused and neglected. It's a great feeling, and I feel very honored to be associated with such a successful charity event. And the people here at Fiddlesticks Country Club have just gotten behind the tournament and just have been unbelievably supportive.
Yeah, you've got a lot of, your former peers, too, right, on tour that get involved. You got the Bobby Nichols Fiddlesticks Charity Foundation, and you guys have a tournament every year. I was taking a look online, nicholscup.org. Great stuff.
Yeah, it's like I say, the players, I think sometimes they're not honored enough for the time they give to charity and try to raise money for different organizations around the country. But the golfers are in a unique situation. They're able to help out in that category. I think I always felt like golf really has an advantage over other sports as far as raising money for charity and different things. Is because when people give their money to those charities, they're able to do something in return, like play golf and have fun. It's pretty hard to do much other than just have festivities and give you money. As other sports, it's been great, and all other sports do raise a heck of a lot of money. But golf is unique in that you're able to participate in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I remember taking a look at the website. Again, it's nicholscup.org, and some of the players that you had playing in the charity event last year. I remember seeing Mr. Jacklin in there, Fuzzy Zeller, Johnny Bench, just to name a few. But you had a lot of great players. It looks like a fantastic event. It
is, and Johnny, all the great players that you mentioned play with us, plus others, and Johnny Bench does what a tremendous job he does. Of course, not only being probably arguably the best catcher in baseball ever, but he does a lot of charity work, and especially in art, and he does all the live auction for us, and he has been a catalyst for our tournament, and he's done it every year since we started, and hopefully he continues, and I think he will forever, because he's so good with charity, raising money, and doing things for giving back, for being who he is, and giving back some of his time and monies and so forth.
That's wonderful. Mr. Nichols, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday morning to be a part of the show. You're fantastic. I hope you'll come back and join me again sometime. I'd love to get your thoughts on what's going on around the tour nowadays and hear some more of the stories from back when you played. But I can't thank you enough for being generous with your time and being a part of the show this morning.
Well, thanks for the kind words. And anytime I'd love to talk about things that this tour and whatever. It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care, Mr. Nichols. All the best to you and your family, and I look forward to catching up with you again, hopefully real soon.
Thanks, good, Chris. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Wow. Now that's an incredible honor. Bobby Nichols, Again, the site for his foundation and the great stuff that they're doing is Nichols, and that's Nichols. So nicholscup.org. Great stuff online there. Get involved. He's doing some wonderful things. All right, folks, it's time to put a bow on this one. My sincere thanks to Mr. Nichols for being such a wonderful guest with me this morning. I thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys the most. Please also check out our sister show, Thursday Night Tailgate, with me and my co-host, Bob Lazari, our announcer, Joe LaGenusa. That show airs live every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Also, you'll find it on Spreaker.com. Tune in. We also are rebroadcast live from 10:30 to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time over on Boost Radio. So check us out there as well. We are joined every week by legends from around both the NFL and the CFL. Please also check out both shows on Facebook. Next on the Tee, Thursday Night Tailgate. Give us a like. That's important to us, too. You can find us online here, nextonthetee.net and ThursdayNightTailgate.com. You can stream or download any of our archive episodes. Keep up to date with who our future guests are going to be. And by going on our Facebook pages, if there's a question that you want us to ask, whether it's on Thursday Night Tailgate or here next on the Tee to one of our guests, please let us know. We'll be glad to get that question answered for you on the air. All right, folks. Thanks again for listening in to the show today. Like I say, we appreciate you guys the very most. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.